Does it show on your page?
I don't have you on my screen, but again, like I said, I'm fine speaking into the void.
Chalo. That's okay, I suppose. Okay. So let me just confirm that people can hear us, and then we can start. Uh, Um, can someone please confirm in the comments if you can hear us? Thank you.
And maybe also whether you can hear me.
That's a good question. I should have asked that. I can see people joining in though. We have like 5 years, but let's wait for the comment.
Okay. All right. Looking pretty as usual with a little bit of greenery in the back. Way it should.
And some natural light showing in.
Yes. Big windows, sunny day.
Oh, it's sunny here as well. The weather is finally changing.
Killing the goras because they are unable to actually be out and about the way they usually would be on a day like this.
Okay. Okay. So yes, I've received confirmation from the comments that they can hear us. Assalamu alaikum everyone. This is Rida from Creative Kinder House. You know that this is Autism Awareness Month, and keeping in line with the topic, we have a very special guest with us, joining us from Denmark, Hassan K.Bajwa. He is, for those of you who are familiar with him, you would know that he is a blogger and he talks about a variety of topics. And today we want him to basically talk about differences, why differences are good, what and what's the state of differences in our society. He's also known as the Desi feminist dad, and now I'm just gonna hand over the stage to Hassan. Hassan, please introduce yourself.
Well, my name's Hassan K.Bajwa. I'm 40 years old. I'm born and raised in Pakistan. I am basically full on Lahori. Moved here back a couple of years ago because my mother's Danish, so I'm half Danish, half Pakistani. So moved here
Mhm.
because my mother and father and my brother and sister were here. So now this is where I live right now. But my heart is always in Pakistan. I really, really miss Pakistan a lot. Anyhow, I'm married and I have two wonderful daughters, and they basically are the ones that have moved me up into this next stage of life where I have to start thinking about somebody other than me.
Uh-huh.
So I'm very. That's one of the reasons I started this whole feminism blog that I run.
Exactly.
Speak very
So
much about women's issues. Well, because I have two daughters and I have to try and affect the world in some sort of positive fashion, so that they grow up into a world where they aren't disadvantaged as women. So that's
that's amazing. That's amazing.
motivation. But also
Yeah.
very socially conscious. I've always debated and discussed and thought a lot about the world that we live in. So it's come naturally to me. Now, what we're going to be talking about today is not usually what I have addressed very often. I've spoken about it just a little bit previously, but this is also something
Mm-hmm.
that matters to me because I have been recently well, again, like I said, I'm almost 40. And at the age
Mm-hmm.
of 8, I was finally diagnosed with ADHD. And
Okay.
that was a completely, it has actually changed my life to understand that, yes, this difference that I experienced in the way that I think, in the way I handle my life, in the way I handle the world generally, that this was not a moral deficiency in me, but that there was actually an issue in
Mm-hmm.
chemistry, in the way my mind processes data, processes the world around me. So it's been a huge this understanding and acceptance for myself that I am basically different, at least in in this way, has really changed my life. I have also
So, sorry to interrupt. You just said you were recently diagnosed. let's I just want to start from there.
Mhm.
Okay, before being formally diagnosed,
Mhm.
did you how different did you feel? Did you feel that you didn't fit in sort of, or like what went on in your mind?
So this is what's a little bit difficult because I'm mixed. So already
Okay.
not like anybody else. The only people
Hmm.
who are similar to me are my brother and my sister, because they have sort of grown up in the same circumstance, with a foreign mother in Pakistan, but with a very close connection to Denmark also. So we've always been coming back here. So this back and forth, having these two different roots. So I've always been aware of being different, but that difference I've always assumed was cultural. And
Okay.
because if I was not fitting in Denmark, or I was feeling issues here, then it was because, well, that's just the Pakistani in me.
That's the Pakistani coming out. Okay.
Pakistani coming
Okay.
out, the other way around also. वहां पे फिर वही बात पाकिस्तान में ही होता था कि यार वो तो फिर मेरी जो है ना गोरा बैकग्राउंड जो मेरी है,
Hmm.
that's what's affecting me there. But as I grew older and I realized that I was past 30, I had a wonderful career in Pakistan. I was head of an advertising agency. I had been working on TV and radio. I've been doing really well for myself. So when
Okay.
I moved back here, basically I wound up in a position where I felt I can't keep up. And that was very strange for me. Again, I am now a full adult, a mature person, and I was feeling like I was failing on some of the basic things that are very highly valued in this society. And one of those things is that everything is done according to a plan. Everything is put down in minute
Yeah.
in a way that in Pakistan it's just not the culture there. So I basically started, I spiraled down into a depression क्योंकि मुझे तो ये लग रहा था कि यार कि I am useless, कि I am lazy, that I am stupid, that basically I'm not as smart as I've always thought I was. So I spent a lot of time really feeling bad about myself, to the point that I had to go and speak to a doctor because I was genuinely feeling anxiety, I was feeling depression. तो डॉक्टर साहब से मैंने जरा जब बात की थी, so we discussed a little bit back and forth, what could happen. I'd also had we had some deaths in my family and so on and so forth. So there was a lot of emotional baggage also to carry with me. But
Like a lot of factors were sort of interfering.
exactly. The fact that I'm different has always been sort of a part of my existence. But
Mm-hmm.
I wound up in this particular society that was demanding a very specific kind of organization, mental organization, जो कि शायद पाकिस्तान में इतनी जरूरी नहीं होती. uh, that's when I was faced with this issue that I have, that I'm very scattered. I have a hard time focusing on things for more than a few, 15, 20 minutes at a time. That's what I can manage. I am very flighty in the way that I think. So when I was faced with this, I went to the doctor, and the doctor, he then was like, "Okay, I think we should do some tests for you right now." And we
Mm-hmm.
did some tests, and he was like, "Dude." Like he was a little bit like, okay, I just want you to show that all these answers that you've given, it is very clear that you are very much over ADHD side, that you are exhibiting all of the classic issues that we associate with ADHD. Now, he could only diagnose it as adult ADHD.
Adult ADHD. Yeah.
He was like, yeah, the likelihood is that you had it all your life. And for
Hmm.
me, the world just sort of started settling down, because first of all I could tell myself that, you know what, this is an issue just like some people have other, I don't even call them disabilities, but they have other differences, where they can't, some people can't sing, some can't paint, some can't write. There's a thousand things that people can't do. So this is one of the things that I can't do, and that's not because I'm lazy, and it's not because I'm a bad person, and it's not because I don't respect the people around me. There are a thousand things that people also interpret if you, for instance, have a hard time keeping track of time. So
Yeah.
लोग अब यहाँ पे वो they think that you're being disrespectful of them and their time. And fortunately, that's not how that it was a relief for me to realize that that's not
So
actually.
yeah, the diagnosis was basically like finding an answer, right? Like
It's the
finally, like giving yourself the realization, okay, okay, you're fine. There's like nothing wrong with you per se. It's just something that you have. Can you please tell what was your like while you were going through this? What was your family's input? Your wife's input? What was like? Yeah.
Well, the thing is, I'm a very fast talker, and I'm very fortunate that I come from a background which has encouraged debate and discussion. And I, growing up, because I was very hyperactive, and I was able to, um, I had a certain way with me from a social perspective. तो लोगों से यारियां दोस्तियां बना लेता हूँ, लोगों को हंसा लेता था. I was always, like a joker, a person who was making people laugh, making them feel comfortable when themselves. So that was a mechanism for me. It's also a part of my inherent nature, but it also
Mm-hmm.
allowed people to give me a lot of वो कहते अच्छा यार खैर है कोई बात नहीं अपना ही बंदा है नहीं अच्छा बंदा है. So I was able to cover a lot of my flaws or the things that I was unable to do in this personality that I was able to exhibit. But
Okay.
that was fine as when I was a teenager in my early 20s. But later on, as I wound up moving ahead in my career, and I had responsibility for other people and for organization, for a business. So उस वक्त I basically applied another capacity I have, which is to get other people joined with me in a team. So I've always ensured कि मेरे इर्द गिर्द कम से कम एक एक बंदा हो या बंदी हो जो कि बहुत ही organized है, who is then making sure that all the nitty-gritties are in place. And I've always made sure that there's someone who can do cover my other flaw and cover my other lacking capacity. तो बेसिकली यूं करके मैंने अपने आप को मैनेज किया है. एंड दैट वर्क अगेन ग्रेट इन
Mm-hmm.
पाकिस्तान. बट मैं फिर जब इधर आया हूँ, देन दिस इज अ मच मोर इंडिविजुअलिस्टिक सोसाइटी. सो it's not that easy to set up teams for everything. A lot of things the individual has to take care of themselves. तो वहां पे मैं फिर बहुत ज्यादा चैलेंज हुआ था. And that's when I went to the doctor and got this diagnosis. And now I've learned to find to develop other techniques to deal with this issue.
ठीक ठीक ठीक. So let's talk about children because even though you got diagnosed as an adult, we all know that there are many children who are going through, well, who are born with different needs, and most of them remain undiagnosed for like half of their lives or all of their lives. So how do you feel about children with special needs? What are your comments?
Well, let me say one thing. The
Yeah.
first most important thing is that all children have special needs. I think
Okay.
fundamentally मुझे मसला है with these standardized educational systems. I suffered under those systems even though I was able to make my way through it. लेकिन for a
Hmm.
kid जो कि medically has an issue, has a hard time staying still, has a hard time focusing, मेरे लिए homework करना एक अजाब था. और मेरी बेचारी माँ के लिए तो उससे दुगना अजाब था, because she had to have this to get him to sit
Yeah.
and do the homework for the next day. So already I am very skeptically inclined towards what you call standardized educational systems,
Hmm.
institutions that children have to go through, because all children are different. There are some
True.
children
True.
who have to deal with greater challenges than others. And I think it's important that institutions, that teachers, that people who deal with children, that they are aware of the fact कि यार हर बच्चा उसी डब्बे में फिट नहीं आता. The thing a lot of people don't realize is कि हमारा जो educational system सिर्फ पाकिस्तान में नहीं पूरी दुनिया में जो है, which is this assembly line educational system, is something based on a need for the British Raj. उस वक्त ये
Yeah.
होता है कि आपको अगर अकाउंटेंट लंदन में वही बंदा जाके कलकत्ता में भी बैठ सकता है, वही बंदा जाके इंडोनेशिया में भी बैठ सकता है, वही बंदा जाके अमेरिका में भी बैठ सकता है, and has learned the exact same things and does the things in the exact same way. तो वो ब्रिटिश राज की जो स्टैंडर्डाइजेशन और इंडस्ट्रियल असेंबली लाइन जो थिंकिंग है, वो बच्चों की तरबियत पे अप्लाई कर दी गई, और वही हम आज चलाते आ रहे हैं. And I think that is a need we no longer have. We have some tools, we have some understanding, we have some capacities that really should push us towards a more individualized form of
Hmm.
educational development of children. So,
Yeah.
my
I
own,
was gonna sort of move ke how do you feel ke our society is lacking? And I suppose that question not only applies to Pakistan, but please answer that in reference to Denmark as well. Although you have already said this sort of goes around like for the whole world, like the all the
Absolutely.
countries' education system. But
स्टैंडर्डाइज्ड एजुकेशनल सिस्टम दिस इज ग्लोबल. ये तो
hmm,
के कोने कोने में लोग यही समझते हैं कि यार लोगों को पहली दूसरी तीसरी आठवीं दसवीं बारहवीं जमात तक आप पढ़ा दो तो वो ठीक है, दूसरी साइड में निकल आएंगे पढ़े लिखे. एंड आई डिसएग्री विद दैट कंप्लीटली बिकॉज बहुत से इंतहाई इंटेलिजेंट बच्चे हैं जो कि they just get lost behind. Now, a lot of them is simply because they are not interested, but a lot of them also are challenged in certain ways. I believe
hmm,
I have been I have been blessed with two extremely intelligent parents. तो उनका भी कुछ मेरे में भी आ गया है. सो आई बिलीव ए रिलेटिवली इंटेलिजेंट पर्सन. लेकिन दैट वाज नॉट ऑलवेज व्हाट आई लर्नड ग्रोइंग अप बिकॉज मैं फोकस नहीं कर पाता था, मैं होमवर्क अपना नहीं कर पाता था, मुझसे
hmm.
नहीं जाता था. आई वाज राउडी इन अनडिसिप्लिन्ड rude child, you know. So there are a lot of stickers
Can you
tags.
please sort of give us how were your teachers? Did w- any of them were especially supportive? Do you think you received support from some of them, or like how was that?
It's difficult to say. Again, मैं
Hmm.
पाकिस्तान में जो खास तौर पे जो मेरी फॉर्मेटिव जो प्राइमरी स्कूलिंग है वो that was in a regular Pakistani metric school. Uh,
Okay.
so the pedagogical style, if you that, was exactly what you can imagine of a school in Zia era 1980s. तो वहाँ पे फेंटी भी चढ़ती थी, मुर्गा भी बना दिया जाता है आपको. All the different kinds of things that I believe are absolutely unacceptable ways to treat children. वो मैंने भी experience.
Exactly.
It's an experience I share with everybody else who went to school at that time. तो
Hmm.
टीचर्स थे, बहुत से थे जो मुझे पसंद भी करते थे, मेरे who were very sweet to me. But the fact that I've been able to manage through my schooling, the fact that I've been able to grow up as a relatively well functioning person, that's thanks to my parents. क्योंकि मेरे माँ बाप ने
Hmm.
मेरे पे वो प्रेशर नहीं डाला कि तुम्हें ग्रेड से कि तुम फर्स्ट आओगे, सेकंड आओगे, थर्ड आओगे. मेरे जो स्कूल के रिपोर्ट्स थे वो हमेशा ये आते थे कि हाँ, हसन कुड बी सो मच बेटर इफ यू कुड जस्ट फोकस, इफ यू वाज जस्ट अ लिटिल मोर डिसिप्लिन्ड, इफ यू वाज जस्ट अ लिटिल मोर डिसिप्लिन्ड. सो दैट वाज पार्ट ऑफ दिस आइडिया. नाउ इफ माय पेरेंट्स हैड बीन डिफरेंट, वो शायद वही रिपोर्ट पढ़ के वो फिर मुझे ट्यूशन सेंटर में बंद कर देते या घर में बंद करते कि नहीं अब बेटा अब तुम बैठ के पढ़ो, अब तुम ये करो, अब तुम वो करो, not realizing that there is a medical issue behind this lack of focus. So शुक्र है कि मेरे माँ बाप ऐसे हैं that they were more concerned with my happiness. They were more concerned कि मैं खुश हूँ. They were more concerned with my critical thinking. तो
Yeah.
ग्रेड आए ना आए, घर पे हमारी डिस्कशन चलती थी. घर पे मैं आई वाज अ वोरेशियस रीडर. मैं हर किस्म की जिसे कहते हैं ना encyclopedia, tell me whys. I don't I, you might be a little too young to remember this, but there were these tell me whys which were just my absolute favorite. I got a new one every birthday. So I was engaged. I wanted to learn, but the kind of learning, the kind of process जो कि स्कूलों में था, जो pedagogy वहां पे अप्लाई होती, that was not suitable for me. And I believe it was unsuitable to a very large number of my class fellows.
And I think it's still going on today because, like you said, you were lucky to have very accepting and understanding parents. But even today, good resources are not available, and still we are sort of following the same style we were like in your time. It's still going on that way, and
It,
maybe the problem with society is this: our teachers are not up to date with the uh, different needs that children have, and again that's hampering their academic progress because they don't even know what's going on with the child, so how are they going to help the child?
एक तो you're absolutely right that unfortunately, हालांकि असातिज़ा की रिस्पेक्ट बहुत होनी चाहिए, उनकी क्वालिफिकेशन बहुत ज़्यादा होनी चाहिए. Like here in a place like Denmark, you can't become a
Hmm.
teacher until you've studied teaching for 5 years. यानी कि आप 5 साल
Okay.
आपको एक स्पेसिफिक एजुकेशन चाहिए होगा, फिर आपको जाके स्कूल में आपको पढ़ाने देंगे, वरना आपको इजाजत ही नहीं है पढ़ाने. So first of all, I absolutely believe that there is a capacity lacking in our society. लेकिन एक और मसला है, और ये सिर्फ हमारे माशरे में नहीं, ये जनरली इस दुनिया में एक मसला है कि
Mm-hmm.
डिफरेंशिएशन इज प्रॉब्लमैटिक. वही वाली बात है ना कि ब्रिटिश राज असेंबली लाइन idea of education that values uniformity. The whole idea was, उसका बुनियादी मकसद ये था कि सब जो आप 12वीं जमात से आप जब निकलोगे, तो आप और आपसे पहले पढ़ने वाले और आपके बाद पढ़ने वाले, आप सब एक ही तरह सोचते हो, एक ही तरह
Yeah.
प्रोसेसेस आप फॉलो करते हो. देयर इज वन द सेम काइंड ऑफ नॉलेज दैट यू कम आउट विद. Now, I think more than anything else, this idea of uniformity as a value, that's the problem. क्योंकि
Hmm.
मेरा एक बहुत बहुत करीबी दोस्त है. नाउ ही हैपेंस टू बी डेनिश एंड इट्स अ फ्रेंड आई मेड हियर इन डेनमार्क. अब ये लड़का 25 साल की उम्र में, 25-27 साल की उम्र में जाके, he had a complete mental breakdown. He had a really tough upbringing anyhow, but he had always been off. Now हमारी यारी दोस्ती इसलिए हुई क्योंकि मैं भी अजीब सा था, वो भी अजीब सा था, तो हमारी यारी दोस्ती हो गई, and we've been
You clicked.
ever since. But now this guy is a stellar engineer. यानी कि वो आप कोई भी कचरा, यानी कि जंक, जो चीजें लोग बाहर,
Hmm.
उनको पकड़ के ला के पता नहीं क्या कुछ बना सकते हो. So he had some capacities, he had some abilities, but unfortunately क्योंकि उसको एक problematize किया गया था, that you are not able to function properly socially, you're not able to follow these and these classes, you're having this issue, you're having that behavioral issue. तो rather than जो उसकी strength थी उसको promote करने के बजाय उन्होंने उसकी खामियों को बहुत ज्यादा promote. And that is what I feel. I remember also growing up in Pakistan, जो मेरी पाकिस्तान में schooling हुई है, उसमें भी मैंने यही देखा है कि बहुत से बच्चे जो बाद में जाके बहुत सक्सेसफुल रहे हैं. They've been very, very successful. They've been handling everything very well. Some of them, I believe, are on the spectrum. लेकिन
Hmm.
उनको अपनी स्कूलिंग में एक्सपीरियंस करना पड़ा था. That was truly tragic and it was unnecessary. कि एक तरफ टीचरों से भी कि यार तू बेवकूफ है, तुझे ये नहीं है, तू फेल हो जाएगा, तुम ये हो जाएगा. घर पे माँ बाप से अलग टेंशन कि
Alak pressure.
तुम्हारी बेइज्जती हो जाएगी, हमारा ये हो जाएगा, हमारा वो हो जाएगा. So there are so many things that work against children who are unique, that might have some capacities, because we have this idea of uniformity. उसको अगर हम एड्रेस करें, अगर हम जरा थोड़ी सी स्पेस बना दें कि बच्चे अपने तरीके से, अपने पेस पे और अपनी डिजायर के मुताबिक अगर चीजें सीखें, so that will be
Yeah.
completely different and much more beneficial psychologically and emotionally.
True, true. So there's something I want to ask. Like now we can see things sort of changing in the way children also are becoming a bit more aware of how things work. Like even at Creative Kinder House, where we promote inclusion, like neurotypical kids should also understand, and it's important from a young age you work on developing empathy, you work on developing acceptance. When you were a child, what would you say? How aware you were? Did you ever meet another child with special needs? Because at that time you didn't know that you had ADHD.
Yeah.
So
And देखो, I think one of the wonderful things जो कि हुए हैं is कि we're getting
hmm,
this new language also now. You use the term neurotypical, ठीक है?
yeah.
Implies कि there is a range which is,
Mm-hmm.
but then there's a range that is not typical, but that word does not problematize people who are outside of that range. So
Mm-hmm.
this is a very very important thing. पहली बात तो ये कि मैं जब छोटा था तो या तो आप सही थे या आप पागल थे. So it was very black and
ठीक.
white. So उसी की वजह से there was a lot of taboos that were attached to it. There was a lot of issues around this idea of a child having special needs. So the fact that we can now speak of it in a way कि हाँ यार, there is not, you don't have to be completely debilitated or completely mentally handicapped in order to be suffering or in order to be not neurotypical or neuroatypical. So
Exactly.
कि अब एक spectrum है. I think this is very very helpful. I in hindsight मुझे मालूम है कि डेफिनेटली
Hmm.
के साथ कुछ क्लास फेलोज वो डिसलेक्सिक थे, डेफिनेटली कुछ थे जिनकी कुछ इमोशनल डिस्टर्बेंसेस थी इन द सेंस दैट वो अगले के साथ engage करना नहीं जानते थे. Then there are a ton of other issues also, but these are all things I can see in hindsight. At the time,
Hindsight. Okay.
I grew up in an environment जहाँ पे बंदा सही था या पागल था, अच्छा था या बुरा था, and was a good student or the worst kind of student in the universe. So this is something that I feel is improving now. But I'll be perfectly honest, I had no interaction with anyone with
Mm-hmm.
needs. I believe it was people who had special needs, but they were never identified as people with special needs. And I also did not ever realize that I had special needs. And yeah, I simply had no idea. So ये तो सब कुछ ये तो चीजें बाद में जाके मुझे समझ में आई हैं. And we will also be perfectly honest, I never really thought about it until this very close friend of mine, he had his breakdown. तब मुझे जरा एहसास हुआ,
Uh-huh.
okay, ये एवें करके नहीं आया. This didn't happen out of nowhere. There's a build up. You don't have a complete manic meltdown out of nowhere. इसका एक process होता है. There's a lead up to it, and there are other external factors. तो उससे पहले मैंने कभी सोचा ही नहीं था. एंड आई थिंक जो मुझे बड़ी खुशी हो रही है इन पाकिस्तान, that there is at least a much greater discussion about this. There have been some that have who found out that I was going to be talking to you here, who have then written to me saying that, you know, we had the same experience. My son
Mm-hmm.
is autistic, and I'm dealing with him this in this fashion. I know somebody else who's running also an institution in Lahore working on autism. So ये तो अच्छी बात है ना कि अब इसको उस तरीके से, ओ यार इसको पागल खाने में बंद कर दो. And I feel awful saying this also, but this is unfortunately the kind
Mm-hmm.
of activity that would
Yes, true, true.
that.
True. But Alhamdulillah, we can say that while we still have a long way to go, we are still better off than we were before. Like that's true. So we're just gonna take a few comments. I'm just gonna read them out loud. Faiza Salim said, "Okay, please share how to deal with ADHD." So can you please tell how you manage it?
Excellent. What a good question. If anybody else knows it out there, then please tell me. Okay. All right. This joking aside, fact is, I realized once I realized that I had
Hmm.
ADHD, then I realized also that the some of the coping mechanisms which जो कि मैंने identify की थी कि यार मैं lazy हूँ, तो I need some way somebody to handle it. I realized that all of these strategies were coping mechanisms to cover the flaws that I had. So one of the things that I've learned, and this is probably the absolute basis of my life right now, when you have ADHD, it's very difficult to focus on anything for an extended period of time.
Mm-hmm.
So that affected me कि मैं फिर आगे जाके पढ़ाई नहीं कर सका. As soon as I had to go into university, when you have to be self-driven, फिर मैं वो नहीं कर सका. I had difficulty also with jobs and these things. And achieving anything other than what I was being told. यानी कि मैं नौकरी कर रहा होता तो मुझे कोई बताने वाला होता कि तुमने ये करना है या तुमने ये टास्क पूरा करना है, तो फिर मेरे लिए कोई मसला नहीं था, because then I didn't have to think about it. But when I then wound up in a position that I had to, I realized if you only have 5 minutes of attention, then give it 5 minutes of attention, and then put it aside and give something else some attention, and come
Mm-hmm.
back to it when you do. So my strategy in life now is that I plug away at it. मुझे पता है कि जो कुछ काम करने के लिए आपको बैठ के 6 8 10 20 घंटे आपको काम करना है, पहले मैं वो
See.
काम नहीं शुरू करता था, because I was like, how am I going to be able to focus for that long? Now
Hmm.
what is that I'm like, okay, you know what, 20 घंटे का काम है, no problem, अभी 5 मिनट तो कर लूं. So then I,
Well, you need to start first
yeah,
and then like sort of go at it.
and acknowledge that you have this attention issue, and you break it up into little bites. मैं अब मसलन मैं घर पे जब सफाई करता हूँ, just as a
Mm-hmm.
very mundane example, I मैं कभी किचन में 2 मिनट मैंने सफाई कर ली, then I walk into the bedroom and I start doing something for 2 minutes, and then I walk into the bathroom for 2 minutes. So my way of cleaning up drives my poor wife insane. तो वो पहले किचन खत्म करेगी, फिर बेडरूम खत्म करेगी, फिर बाथरूम खत्म करेगी. So my way is to do 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, 5 minutes there, 5 minutes here, thoda karke. So that is one
हाँ.
strategy. Please understand, I'm not a professional. I don't know anything more than my own life. लेकिन I definitely recommend कि जब आपको मालूम है कि that you have a tough time focusing for extended period of times, don't worry about it. Don't feel bad about it. Just focus the few minutes you can and promise yourself that you're going to come back to it.
Yeah, the first step is acceptance. I mean, if you won't accept ke what you have, so you won't be able to manage it. So,
Yeah.
thank you. Though that was a really good strategy, actually.
I'll say one the one other. I think that's the core strategy, but there's one other thing.
Uh-huh.
ADHD, try and build teams. Find people, make sure that you have your social and professional networks जिनको पता हो कि अच्छा यार अब now for instance I've been doing this degree, and in my degree the a core part of every semester has been project work. A project work requires a lot of you have to write basically a bachelor's thesis every semester, and
Hmm.
that's a lot of detailed work. तो मैंने स्ट्रेटेजी अपनी ये अपना ली कि मैं टीम बनाता था, उसी टीम में मैं बता देता कि यार ये मेरा एक इशू है, and I am very good at the big picture. I'm very good at the language. I'm very good at creating a line of argument. तो ये भाई ये मेरी स्ट्रेंथ्स है, आपकी जो स्ट्रेंथ्स है आप कंट्रीब्यूट करना. So I definitely think this is another way of coping also, because no
Open communication.
open communication and team building. I think
Mm-hmm.
people with ADHD अक्सर वो सफर करते हैं क्योंकि लोग समझते हैं कि यार ये तो बंदा लेजी है, या ये बंदा
Yeah.
रिस्पेक्ट नहीं दे रहा है, या ये बंदा हमारा सोचता ही नहीं है, वो अपनी चीजों में गायब हो जाता है. So it's hard for them to maintain teams. But if you are upfront saying कि यार मेरा ये एक issue है, so I have never actually, none of the teams over my entire education, none of them have broken up. Simply because मैंने upfront बता दिया कि यार मेरा issue है, ठीक है कोई मसला नहीं है. Then people knew how to deal with it. They knew what my weaknesses were, and they could leverage my strengths instead.
That's amazing. So, Huda Zainab is saying very insightful. Thank you. From Haris bin Saqib, we have good productive session. Thank you, Haris. Fareed is saying Bajwa Sahib the Great. uh, so, Aksa has the question: is ADHD genetic? Uh, Hassan, do you want to put in an input over there? Or
I That's a good question. I haven't the foggiest idea. I have to admit,
okay.
I, what I have learned from my family, because
Hmm.
once I was diagnosed, then I started having these conversations with my mother and my father. And one of the things that had always made me feel a little bad about myself is that my father is a chess player. और मैं तो चेस खेल ही नहीं सकता ना, मुझे खेल ही नहीं जाती, बिकॉज आई कांट थिंक मोर देन वन मूव अहेड. वो जो
Mm-hmm.
होती है स्ट्रक्चर्ड थिंकिंग होती है चेस की, दैट वाज कंप्लीटली बियॉन्ड मी. And I always used to feel bad about this. But then I had this conversation after my diagnosis. I wound up having a conversation, and my father told me, he was like, I can't either. So, so it turns out basically it's very likely that my father, possibly not at the same extent that I have, but that
Mm-hmm.
there's some aspect of attention deficit that he also has been dealing with and has developed his own coping mechanisms for. But I can't say if it's, I honestly can't say if it's genetic. Look at my children, looking for signs in it, of it all the time. ताकि उनका अगर है ये मसला तो फिर I can help them with some coping mechanisms.
Have you noticed signs?
Sorry?
Have you noticed signs?
None as such. I mean, my oldest,
Uh-huh.
she jumps from one thing to another, but I mean that could also just be because she's.
That could is exactly. No, actually, so for viewers, ADHD does tend to run in families, and research does show that parents and siblings of a child with ADHD are more likely to have ADHD themselves. However, it's not as simple. It can be like attributed to a single genetic fault. It's more complex than that. So, Go Green is asking who was the biggest influence. So I'm not sure कि कौन से टाइम पीरियड की ये बात कर रही हैं. yeah, कर रहे हैं. So who was
And
the biggest influence? How can we take this, Hassan?
yeah, I mean, I've been influenced by so many people in my life. But okay,
Mm-hmm.
so one thing is definitely my parents, without a doubt, क्योंकि the fact कि उन्होंने कभी मेरे पे वो प्रेशर नहीं डाला, जबरदस्ती नहीं की कि तुमने अब ये करना है, तुमने ग्रेड्स अचीव करने हैं, so they gave me space to be who I was. So that definitely allowed me to be different and still feel that I was worth something. तो सबसे पहली बात है कि मेरे माँ बाप ने कभी भी जो डिमांड्स ऑफ यूनिफॉर्मिटी हैं फ्रॉम स्कूल फ्रॉम सोसाइटी वो मेरे पे इम्पोज नहीं किए सो दैट
Yeah.
इज huge thing huge benefit advantage that I've had as an individual that I haven't been under that pressure. But other than that, my khala is a psychologist. That helped a lot because I was able to again process a lot of things
Uh-huh.
that otherwise I think not everybody gets the possibility of doing. But other than that, then there was the last thing, जैसे कि मैंने बात की about team building. I had a
Yeah.
boss once upon a time, and I came down to him, and I was furious because I had responsibility for a few people. Not all of them were easy to work with, to say the least. And he told me something, and it has stuck with me since then. Faruqi, this is in case you're following. This is you who taught me this. That even if you can't stand the people that are working for you, you have to love them. now, now now this sounds like some new agey stuff, but the truth behind it, जिस तरीके से मैंने अपना ली, was that I have to. It is absolutely essential that I build a team around myself. And I can only build a team around myself if I am positive and loving in my relationship with them. Now, loving is not in an affectionate manner, but
Mm-hmm.
in a compassionate and considerate manner. कि अगला भी इंसान है, अगली की भी अपनी खामियां हैं, उनकी भी desires और thoughts हैं. So
True.
for to understand this at a basic level, कि अगर मैंने अपनी जो मेरी खामियां हैं उनको हैंडल करना है, if I have to build a team around myself, I have to be empathetic towards them and I have to love them, even if I can't stand them.
No, that's actually very good advice, and to all those employers who are listening, I hope you follow that. I never. Iqbal is saying that I never lose my focus listening to Bajwa bro, like his way of talking. I'm sure, Hassan, you're very happy to hear that. Good job, guys. Good effort.
She has really started this. There's so much eye rolling going on in my home, and she's only 4. I shudder to think what she's going to be doing to me when she's a teenager.
I'm sure we'll hear about it on your vlogs. So the next question I have for you is it's sort of a general question. Why is there no acceptance? And I'm like, so let's not take it only in terms of children with special needs or something. Because even in normal cases, if someone is fat, they're being bullied. If someone is too thin, they're being bullied. Okay, why are you so thin? Are you not eating enough? And their mothers are being like asked, "Okay, don't you feed your child enough?" And then again, why are you feeding your child so much?
Yeah.
These kind of things, like they're happening all around us, all over the world. So why do you think there is so much lack of acceptance for differences?
Yeah, it's because हमें बचपन से सिखाया जाता है that there is a value in uniformity. Uh,
Again, back to the British thing.
and it's not just the British thing. I think this is a genuine, a basic human need also, that if you have to
Hmm.
function as a community, then you should all be following the same codes. You should all be having an alignment in your values and perspectives. So एक लिहाज से तो इनकी तो जरूरत है कि हम सब
Okay.
कुछ बुनियादी असूल को फॉलो करें और कुछ बुनियादी पर्सपेक्टिव शेयर करें. But I think there there has been this focus more and more over time of uniformity. Ab aap isko, whether you take it from a religious perspective, whether you take it from a political perspective, from an educational perspective, academic, every perspective, there is always a drive for uniformity.
Hmm.
अ, जिन माशरों में प्रेशर ज्यादा होता है, जहाँ पे whether you are dressed properly, whether you have the right degree, whether you are affiliated to the right form and the right kind of religious or political perspective, uh, वहाँ पे they will naturally be a greater um, pressure to make children uniform, to
Yeah.
make them fall into a certain line. Now, one of the advantages of a society of either Denmark mein main rehta hu, and I generally I never like to make comparisons between Pakistan and Denmark because apples and oranges, two different parts of the world with virtually no overlap. लेकिन एक चीज यहाँ पे मैंने जो सीखी है कि because this society is as rich as it is, इतना पैसा
Hmm.
जो में है, then the capacity for society to be like अच्छा यार जो करना है तुम करो, अच्छा तुमने ये करना है तुम ये कर लो, तुमने इस तरह के कपड़े पहनने हैं तुम ये पहन लो, you want to call yourself this, say that you believe in this, like for instance there are a lot of people who have decided that they now believe in the ancient Nordic gods also.
Okay.
The flexibility and the
Huh.
space that you have for people deviating is much greater when there isn't so much economic, social, and religious and even political pressure for uniformity. So I think that's what is what we are dealing with. Is कि जहाँ पे pressure होता है वहाँ पे the call for uniformity is greater. अगर माशरे में थोड़ी सी relaxation हम ले आए और हम समझ
Hmm.
के the deviations are actually what drive innovation, कि
True.
से नई चीजें लाने वाले वही हैं जो कि औखे हैं, जो कि अजीब हैं,
Exactly.
considered nuts. So if we start to understand as a species कि हाँ किसी हद तक यूनिफॉर्मिटी का एक फायदा है, but to shut out or exclude the possibility for deviating from the norm, then we are shooting ourselves in the foot. हम अपने पाँव पे कुल्हाड़ा मार रहे हैं बतौर एक मुआशरा.
True. So, like in Pakistan, then do you think what do you think things have changed, and how can we? I suppose the question is, obviously we need to start things at the grassroots level. Then how can we change things? What would be the first step, other
हाँ
than accepting that uniformity is not the answer?
यार,
But what are the practical steps to take?
well, from a macro perspective, I think
Hmm.
जो एक ज्यादती हुई है हमारे पूरे माशरे के साथ, particularly over the last 45 years since the 70s, कि there has been a drive to make the country uniform, to implement an overarching Pakistani identity and imposing it on what is actually an extremely beautifully diverse culture. अब मुझे तो पता है
Very diverse, exactly.
कि यार मेरी दुनिया पूरे पाकिस्तान से अलग है, and that's a wonderful thing. The fact that I can drive 400 kilometers or 600 kilometers and people will be speaking a language that I have no idea what they're saying. That is wonderful. तो ये जो फ्रॉम अ मैक्रो पर्सपेक्टिव अगर हम बतौर एक माशरा, बतौर एक मुल्क हम मान लें और एक्सेप्ट कर लें और प्रमोट कर लें जो हमारे आपस में डिफरेंसेस हैं, the not just from an ethnic and linguistic perspective, but also the religious differences, also the cultural differences, also the differences in dress, also the differences in politics. ये अगर हम एक्सेप्ट करना शुरू कर लें और इसको वैल्यू करना शुरू कर दें, तो this definitely will change a lot. But to bring it down to a micro perspective, to the individual,
Hmm.
अगर हम हर डिविएशन, हर डिफरेंस को प्रॉब्लमेटाइज करने के आदी बन जाए, तो फिर किसी ने अगर अपने कपड़े एक तरीके से पहने हो दूसरे तरीके से ना पहने, तो फिर then that becomes a problem that you talk about, that you try
Yeah.
to solve, rather than seeing, okay, if this person is acting differently, then why? बिकॉज व्हेन यू आस्क दैट क्वेश्चन, एक तो आपको समझ आ जाएगी, आप सोचना शुरू कर दें कि यार अगर ये बंदा इधर जाने के बजाय इधर जा रहा है तो क्यों जा रहा है, कुछ ना कोई वजह तो होगी. इट्स नॉट बिकॉज ही इज possessed by the devil or he is an evil or horrible person. तो एक तो ये हमें
Yeah.
मजबूर कर देगा सोचने पे कि यार व्हाट इज एक्चुअली हैपनिंग इन आवर सोसाइटी दैट इज कॉजिंग पीपल टू मूव इन अ डिफरेंट डायरेक्शन. दूसरी बात ये है, फिर हम ये भी देखना शुरू करें, अच्छा यार अगर ये बंदा इधर जा रहा है और किसी वजह से जा रहा है, मे बी देयर इज समथिंग वी कैन लर्न, maybe there is some advantage that we can gain as a society from this new perspective. तो बहुत लोग कहते हैं ना कि यार ये यूरोप में इन जगहों में इनोवेशन ज्यादा होती है, हमारे माशरे
Hmm.
में करके हम इनोवेशन ड्राइव नहीं कर सकते. दिस इज वन ऑफ द रीजंस बिकॉज देयर इज दिस इम्प्लीमेंटेशन ऑफ दिस यूनिफॉर्मिटी, या चाहते हैं कि यार लोग बस सीधी लाइन पे चलते रहें. बट
Yeah, I think this again brings us back to, sorry to interrupt, to
या,
the education system.
I have to add this because this is a key aspect of what I consider
Uh-huh.
Pakistan to be. पाकिस्तान में जब हम फंस जाते हैं, when there is no other way out, जब लाइन पे चलते 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 हम एक कोने में तक पहुंच जाते हैं, there is nowhere to go, फिर जिस तरह के जुगाड़ हमारे माशरे में पाए जाते हैं, the kind of fixes, the kind of innovative solutions that I've seen in Pakistan, I've seen nowhere else. जुगाड़ हमारी डीएनए में है.
वो हमारे exactly. Nobody can do that better than Pakistanis
But why I think it is a waste of our energy and of our capacities कि हम इन
of our capacity.
सिर्फ इन एज अ लास्ट रिजोर्ट इस्तेमाल करें. We
Exactly.
putting this innovative, making this freedom to be different at an earlier stage rather than right
Hmm.
when there is no other possible solution.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say, when you pointed out, let's ask, we need to start asking why, right? Why this person is a bit different. So that sort of brings us back to the education system, because ever since we are young, I feel the question why it's curved. It's not we are not encouraged to explore the whys.
No.
We are just like, this is a concept, okay, this is the way it is. And when a child asks why, मतलब मुझे याद है, even when I was in school हमें कहा जाता था बस याद कर लो, ये ऐसे है. और फिर and it happened with me, I stopped asking the whys. And it's just now I feel no, I need to start thinking again, need to start asking again, because otherwise a person's growth just stops.
So I am on a regular basis accused on my page as being someone who needs a psychologist, because people, they are pathologizing, they're making it pathological, the fact that I am insisting on looking at things from a different perspective than everybody else. वो
Hmm.
कि यार ये तो मेरी एक जहनी बीमारी है कि मुझे मैं एमए करके चीजें एक्सेप्ट नहीं कर पाता. दैट इज थैंक्स टू माय पेरेंट्स आल्सो. दे हैव encouraged me to be critical, and just as I encourage my children to be critical of whatever they see, क्योंकि अगर if you don't ask the question why, then you
Yeah.
have no way of actually understanding why you live the way you do. You simply live the way you do. Then you become a monkey rather than a living, thinking human being. And this is not to disrespect those who prefer and like to follow the line. लेकिन
Mm-hmm.
कम जो पूछना चाहते हैं, जिन
Yeah.
कैपेसिटी है, उनको डिस्करेज करना, आई थिंक इट इज दैट डेफिनेटली. इफ we can return to my schooling for a minute, the
Mm-hmm.
thing that I am truly, truly disappointed with, and where I really hold it against a lot of the people that I came across in during the course of my schooling, is कि नहीं यार बस नहीं, कुछ सवाल नहीं करना, नहीं भाई.
Mm.
Cutting down children for asking something, I mean that's just wrong.
That completely shuts down their drive and their creative processes. And again, and especially when you said na not to disrespect those people who are comfortable with following the line or whatever. I think it's important that even uh, those people need to be aware of why they're following the line. I suppose, I mean, as long as they're aware of that, all the factors, then it's okay. But blindly following something is, it's not okay. It shouldn't be okay.
I think that I don't think anybody wants to blindly follow.
Hmm.
if they do, then there are some other reasons behind
Other
it.
factors, exactly.
It's very difficult for me to point at somebody and say to them,
Hmm.
follow the line or anything. I think more importantly is कि at an individual level हर एक इंसान वो ये सोचे कि यार अगर अगला मेरी तरह नहीं है तो वो गलत नहीं है necessarily. ये
Yeah.
सोचना कि because you are not like me or because you're not fitting into this particular mold that I've been raised with,
Hmm.
because you're not acting in this way that is expected, तो फिर तुम गलत हो. I think if we can just learn as a species, as a society, to take one step back and say, okay, अगर तुमने इस राह पे नहीं चलना तो क्यों? Why not? Because
Yeah.
even in that process, either if I will learn something, if I ask somebody, why are you going in this way that I don't agree with? Then either I will learn something, or honestly, that person might learn, oh, maybe this is not the way to deviate. But when
True.
you
True.
eliminate the whys, then you are shooting yourself in the foot. यार हम इंसान हैं, हम अक्लमंद हैं, हमारी कैपेसिटी है क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग की, हम सोच सकते हैं. तो जब हम खुद इसको बंद कर देते हैं, रोक देते हैं, तो हम अपने आप से ही ज्यादती कर रहे हैं. Nobody loses but us. And
True.
put it in terms of particularly children with special needs. I think more than anything, it is our fundamental responsibility as human beings कि अगर अगला इंसान एक स्टैंडर्डाइज्ड मोल्ड में नहीं फिट कर रहा तो उसको जबरदस्ती उस मोल्ड में फिट करना वो तो उसको तोड़ने के बराबर है. दैट इज लाइक ब्रेकिंग दैट अदर पर्सन. इफ इंस्टेड children with special needs, children who exhibit behaviors that can be either aggressive or angry,
Hmm.
then we understand maybe they're having some trouble at home. These things go completely undetected in our society as it is right
Yeah.
now. Maybe
Exactly.
somebody who has ADHD or another issue with focusing, maybe, and this I've seen also, maybe this child is hyper intelligent, is getting bored. ये भी होता है स्कूलों में.
Yeah.
But
Maybe they're not being like, and the intellect is not being stimulated enough.
एग्जैक्टली exactly. तो ये लुकिंग एट चिल्ड्रन एंड आस्किंग द क्वेश्चन कि ये बच्चा यूं क्यों है, दैट एंड देन नॉट बी लाइक आ यार बस वो है ही ऐसा, या नहीं यार ये बस
True.
है ही मसले, और नहीं यार वो उसके माँ बाप ही ऐसे हैं, और नहीं यार वो है ही ऐसा. Instead of that, then take the time it takes to ask the question and try to answer it yourself. और अगर आपको नजर आ रहा है कि वो बच्चा है डिफरेंट, तो यार
Hmm.
don't make them out to as a problem. See how you
Yeah.
find a benefit in that child's difference rather than trying to eliminate it.
Exactly. And for teachers also, I would like to say there's it's something we at KKH try to follow. If they can't learn the way you teach, well, then you teach the way they can learn. You need to change your methodologies. You need to be a better teacher because everyone can learn. You just need to figure out how. I'm going to take a comment.
Mhm.
Sorry, if you want to say something.
Yeah, I just wanted to say one thing. This is one of the things that I'm very, very keen on now. My whole university education has been in a university that is
Hmm.
focused on self learning. I am a great believer in self learning. मुझे मालूम है कि मैंने जो कुछ अपने बचपन में सीखा है, a
Yeah.
portion of that is what I learned in school, but the vast majority is everything I read and all the books from the library इधर उधर कर करके, क्योंकि वो मैं अपनी मर्जी से अपनी खुशी से वो चीजें सीखना चाह रहा था. लेकिन जहां
Hmm.
पे के जोर पे मुझे कुछ सिखाने की कोशिश की, my own brain was like नहीं मैंने करना ही नहीं, I'm not, I hate it. I'm not going to. And
Yeah.
it's a bad strategy to not
Hmm.
acknowledge the differences in the children कि कुछ बच्चे इस चीज में इंटरेस्टेड हैं, कुछ बच्चे उस चीज में इंटरेस्टेड हैं. अगर बच्चे नहीं सीख पा रहे तो फिर मसला बच्चों का नहीं है, मसला सिखाने वाले.
Matlab. Exactly. Exactly.
So
So, yeah, one of the comments is, I will keep this advice in mind, but shouldn't empathy be two-way? I think this is the advice she's talking about is the one your boss gave you about loving the you loving your the people who you work with. So, shouldn't empathy be two-way?
of course it should, but the world is the world and it is how it is, and you can't enforce other people to be empathetic towards yourself. ये अगर
Hmm.
आप अपनी बिहेवियर, अपना पर्सपेक्टिव अगले के बिहेवियर और पर्सपेक्टिव पे बेस करते हो कि अगला करेगा तो मैं करूंगा, then you are making yourselves a slave to the other person rather than being
Hmm.
your person. तो पहली बात तो ये है।
See.
दूसरी बात ये है कि आई डोंट नीड when I'm in power, I was the boss of these people that I was leading. So there
Hmm.
was a certain power dynamic there. So when I'm the person in power, I'm the one who has the responsibility to be empathetic. Just like a parent has the responsibility to be empathetic towards a child, not the other way around. Just like a teacher has the responsibility to be empathetic towards their students, not the other way around. So
These are very good lessons. Yeah.
remember
Something we should all
what
keep in mind.
power dynamics are before
Hmm.
you expect two-way empathy.
So, another question directly for you. Let me just put it up. Hassan, how do we entertain differences without being critical of others? Is it even possible?
Uh, I have I'm very fortunate कि मेरे आपस में जो मेरे जो दोस्त हैं, मेरी बीवी जो है, we are really like night and day in many different ways.
Hmm.
I disagree with my wife a lot about a lot of things. I disagree with my friends about a lot of things. I disagree with my parents about a lot of things. But I can be critical of their perspectives and say I disagree with this without being critical of them as a person. मुझे मालूम है कि मेरी बीवी अगर वो उसका पर्सपेक्टिव मेरे से डिफर करता है, इट्स नॉट बिकॉज शी इज अ बैड पर्सन या वो मेंटली डिफिशिएंट है, बल्कि मैं कुछ लिहाज से मैं समझता हूँ मेरे से बहुत ज्यादा अक्लमंद है. बट आई हैव टू डिफरेंशिएट बिटवीन द पीपल, द person that I'm disagreeing with and
Hmm.
disagreeing with.
Hmm. Hmm.
मेरे भी कुछ
True.
दोस्त जो कि बहुत जो डेफिनेटली मेरे से हजार गुना ज्यादा रिलीजियस हैं, सो दे हैव अ वेरी रिलीजियस पर्सपेक्टिव ऑन द वर्ल्ड दैट दे इनहैबिट. कुछ लोग हैं who are very what you would call neoliberal capitalist type of perspectives who I very much disagree with. There are a lot of people that have different views जिनसे मैं बिल्कुल अग्री नहीं करता, लेकिन डिसएग्रीमेंट अपनी जगह और
Hmm.
अगले से नफरत, अगले को कंडेम करना अपनी जगह.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's one of the major problems in our society. Why discussion is sort of curbed is because we start blaming the person as a whole because of some of his her opinions, right? We don't like focus on the opinions, but like instead of taking out the opinions, it's more about the person, and we should
ये
stop doing that. Thank you for raising it up. Yeah.
ad hominem attacks. That's why जहां पे भी, if when watching TV or in a
Mm.
debate and so forth, जहां पे अगला इंसान अगले की इंसानियत पे हमला करता है, वहां पे मैं ऑनेस्टली मैं उस इंसान को फारिग कर देता हूँ कि यार, इफ यू आर अटैकिंग द पर्सन rather than the,
Yeah.
then you have not understood the point and you are
Mm.
attacking something that is unnecessary to attack. हम सब
True.
इंसान हैं, हम सब, everybody wants to fundamentally be good, feel good and act what they seem to be considered to be good. कोई अपने आप को evil नहीं समझना चाहता, कोई अपने आप को lazy नहीं समझना. Nobody wants to think of themselves that way. So when
Hmm.
you're attacking the other person's humanity, you are missing the point completely. You have to focus on, you have to differentiate between the point and the person. हमारी फैमिली में तो डिबेट कल्चर इंग्रेन्ड है ना. वो तो हम ऊंचा ऊंचा एक दूसरे के साथ लड़ते हैं. इनफैक्ट इट वाज अ लिटिल डिफिकल्ट फॉर माय वाइफ टू सॉर्ट ऑफ become a part of this family where we disagree with each other as a hobby.
No, no, I can actually relate to you on that because luckily, I'm also part of a family where we hardly agree.
Yeah.
We are arguing all the time, but again, it's more about the points that are the highlights rather than like attacking personal, making personal attacks.
Man, I grew up in a family where the family, this is my Pakistani side of the family in particular, this side of the family, that actually it's both sides. वहां पे ऊंची ऊंची लड़ाइयां हो रही होती थी, झगड़े हो रहे होते थे, बिल्कुल क्या हुआ, स्टूपिड ओपिनियन, ये वो फलाना ढकाना. बट व्हेन इट कम्स डाउन टू इट, वो सारा झगड़ा खत्म होता है, फिर बैठ के मिल के वही चाय बनाई और चाय. So I've grown up in an environment जहां पे यार, अच्छा यार, ये तेरी सोच है, that's fine, that is your, as long as you act as a decent human being to me and to other people, who am I to condemn you? You are entitled. In fact, I encourage you to have a difference of
Hmm.
opinion, क्योंकि अगर तुम्हारा opinion बिल्कुल मेरी तरह का होगा, तो हम एक दूसरे अगर से पेचा नहीं लगाएंगे तो हमारे अपने ओपिनियंस शार्प नहीं होंगे. So I come from a debating family precisely for which has given all of us this ability to engage with an argument, step back, learn from it, move into the argument again, adjust your argument, and change. That is what humanity is about.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just gonna take a last question before we finish. Um, Hassan, there's a strong habit in Pakistan of shutting person's different perspective by using religion, especially in social relationship matters. How do we improve communication with such people?
यार मैंने शुरू से ही ऑन माय ब्लॉग बहुत एक स्ट्रिक्ट प्रिंसिपल ये रखा है कि मैं कभी भी रिलीजियस आर्ग्यूमेंट्स ना मैं पेश करता हूँ ना मैं उनसे इंगेज करता हूँ.
Hmm.
एंड दैट इज सिंपली बेस्ड ऑन द आइडिया कि यार इफ यू हैव अ पर्सपेक्टिव that is grounded in your religious faith, I'm not going to be the one to come in and try to chop up or argue or disprove your beliefs. तो मैं तो अगर अगला कहता है कि भाई मेरा रब ये कह रहा है या मेरा दीन ये कह रहा है,
Hmm.
then you're like, okay, that's fine. That's what you believe. This is
Hmm.
what I believe.
ठीक है.
If you can accept this belief, wonderful. If you can't, wonderful. मेरे ख्याल
ठीक.
से इसको मजीद बढ़ाना, मजीद वो रिलीजियस पर्सपेक्टिव को इंगेज करना या चैलेंज करना, it will typically wind up in a less than positive result. क्योंकि वो फिर
Hmm.
आप बदमज़गी बहुत बहुत हो जाती है. सो आई
True.
इवन दो
True.
रिलीजियस आर्ग्यूमेंट्स, अब मैं पला हूँ पाकिस्तान में, तो सारी बात है यार दीन पे बहुत डिस्कशंस हुई, लेकिन ये भी मैंने देख लिया कि वहां पे वो डिस्कशन खत्म हो जाती है क्योंकि देन यू ईच सिट इन योर ओन कैंप एंड यू आर नॉट एबल टू एक्चुअली मूव टुवर्ड्स ईच अदर. तो आई कैन से टू, आई थिंक इट्स मुइज हु
Hmm.
इज रिटन इन कि
Hmm.
यार अगर आपका मसला है कोई अपने वो अपने रिलीजन में रिट्रीट करके आर्गुमेंट शट डाउन करता है, तो आप वहां पे रुक जाएं और वो जब फिर से सामने आएंगे फिर से उनको अपना shall we say नॉन रिलीजियस साइंटिफिक व्हाटएवर पर्सपेक्टिव आप उनसे शेयर करें एंड लेट देम रिट्रीट अगेन, बट डू नॉट वायलेट देयर बिलीफ्स बाय ट्राइंग टू उनके बिलीफ्स में घुस के उनको तब्दील करने की कोशिश ना करें. आई डोंट थिंक दैट्स द राइट थिंग फॉर एनीवन टू डू टू एनीवन.
True. So, Hassan, this has been a really, really interesting discussion. Thank you so much for joining us. Please, any last words, any piece of advice to everyone out there?
All I can say is that one of the wonderful things about humanity is that we are at this point in time, I don't even know what the global population is, but in excess of 8 billion unique individuals.
Someone please comment what's the population? What's the population? Someone please comment. Yes, Hassan.
The total population, whichever the population is, billions upon billions are unique individuals. Now, this uniqueness is absolutely essential for our survival as a species. आप अगले को डिफरेंटली बिहेव करते हुए उसको फौरन कंडेम करने से पहले आप उसको समझने की कोशिश करो. शायद उनकी डिफरेंस में हमारी पूरी इंसानियत के लिए एक बहुत बड़ी बेनिफिट है, एक बहुत देयर इज अ ब्लेसिंग समवेयर इन दैट डिफरेंस. डोंट throw away that potential benefit by having this gut
Yeah,
reaction of excluding the different. Welcome the different, welcome those who think differently, welcome those who act differently, welcome the differences, and I tell you, we will become a stronger species, a stronger society, and this world will become better.
inshallah, inshallah. Again, thank you so much. Thank you so much to our audience who has kept this discussion really engaging. Thank you so much for your comments. We tried answering as many comments as possible. Those questions that were not answered, we will comment below. Thank you, Hassan, for joining us. And
You're so welcome.
Allah.
Take care, guys.
Okay, we'll. Bye bye.
Bye bye.